So guys, let's talk about shallowing, and shallowing meaning getting the shaft pitch a lot more online. For those of you that are coming kind of over the top, hitting steep movements where you're cutting across the ball, you know, the club isn't very well lined up, so that makes it so much harder to be efficient through impact and so on. And look, the shallowing side of things is essentially getting the club approximately online. And just for references, that is sort of the angle that we've got at the beginning. You see, just because the ball is on the floor, when we take a setup, the angle between my hands and the ball are approximately why that club is designed in this way. So as the club sits flat on the ground, this angle is already built into the club. You know, if we put the ball somewhere else, if we put the ball up here, we'd probably be talking more about a horizontal kind of plane line, wouldn't we? So the fact the ball's on the floor, we've got this angle built into the club, and just nice for kind of simplicity here, nice to see that that angle, let's for demonstration purposes, just call it a diagonal line. It's approximately that. Obviously some clubs are a little bit steeper and so on. But regardless of the actual design of the club at the beginning, our job is to understand how we get the club online, what parts of us are doing the job. There's three key factors I've got to show you here in today's session, and understanding how the wrists, the arm and the body can play a complementary role to get this club online and stop you from getting this kind of steepness, this over the top, and this club journey, frankly, that's just wiping across the ball. Let's talk about the pitch of the shaft, have a look at some of the contributing factors of how we would indeed shallow that club. I quite like the idea that you're moving the club head to the right of the grip as I'm standing here, or it's going behind the grip. That's important. Anything that's obviously steep is where the club head is getting a bit more above the grip. Of course, if it goes too far, then we really are in quite a world of trouble. So for this, let's talk about a horizontal plane, and just keep demonstration and practice as clean and as simple as we can. And if we said that our goal was to try and get this club sort of horizontal, if we was to stand up without golf posture at all, just stand up facing, hold that club sort of out in front, so it's nice and upright as you sort of look at it, as I'm facing you, the camera here. So you can certainly do this in front of a mirror, really helpful just to kind of get you tuning into the sort of the pitch of the shaft. Now, the pitch of the shaft is really governed by getting the club head to move, in this demonstration, to the right of the handle. And to make it steeper from there, it's then getting back above, it's then moving left of its position. So three factors here we've actually got to look at. The first factor is how wrist rotation can actually have an impact on the pitch of the shaft. The second factor is arm rotation and how that can have an effect on the pitch of the shaft, and indeed my upper body here, my right shoulder, my shoulder plane, in fact, in this scenario can have a slight effect on the shaft. And it is the case that from the top of backswing, in order to shallow that club and get that club head more behind my hands, a combination of wrist, arm and body is actually really what's going to get the club much more online. For those of you that are coming over the top, we've got to see that to steepen the shaft, it's either wrist, arm rotation, or actually poor body movements that's doing that. And this is where, of course, it's tricky. Of course, you want to try and highlight you as the individual and seek out, okay, what part of me is actually causing this? And certainly coming back to those ideas where you're just standing up in front, it's like if I said to you, could you get the club from vertical to horizontal. And just see how much that club has now turned to the right. We've got some bit of wrist in there, we've got a bit of arm in there, and indeed my body has also helped. If I was going to ask you now to kind of steepen the shaft and get the club head back to vertical, I could move my body this way. Can you see that's having some effect on the shaft? I could move my arm this way. Can you see that's having some effect on the shaft? Or my wrists. And this is where, and if I did all three, then all of a sudden I'm kind of almost the worst it could possibly be. I'm going to be so far out, so steep, so over the top. I could almost hit that ball between my own legs. I'm so far from the outside. But again, this is all about great coordination and really bit of hand, bit of arm, bit of body, is upper body, I might add, is really what's going to get that club so much more sort of online. And what we want to feel here is that I'm not sort of dumping all my angles here to actually get the club sort of online. You see, if I did that, that looks good in terms of, oh, that's going down plane. But from face on now, I've dumped all my angles. I cannot get any sort of forward movement with the grip so much. So this is actually seeing that the factors that are looking after this, yes, it's complex, but we've got a bit of wrist rotation, arm rotation, and a little bit of body tilt, right side bend, you might even call it. So these are all the good movements that's really going to help me shallow the club. Right side bend, right rotation of your arms, your right arm particularly, your left arm's very complementary, and your wrist. So even if I did a backswing where I was a little bit Matt Wolf, if you like, where I've gone this way on the way back, and bear in mind, if I turned you and stood up, I've now got kind of left side bend. My right arm is higher than my left. I've actually turned left there, which is exactly what that kind of takeaway is. That's why I'm not such a huge fan of it, because actually now we've kind of gone on a reverse, kind of over the top. But what we can see from here, I've got to now turn my wrist. I've now got to turn my arm, and I've got to get my body in the right place, which is exactly bit of hand, bit of arm, bit of body. Those are the factors that's really going to get that club online. So I've got to keep it turned to the right. I've got to keep it turned to the right, because those are the factors that's actually getting that club sort of lined up. It's why I love this sort of steering wheel exercise, where you can practice just with a steering wheel and appreciate that there's right rotation and left rotation. This exercise is actually focusing on the arms. Can't really turn the steering wheel with your wrists so much, but they will move with you as your arms go, and certainly seeing a little bit of right rotation and a little bit of sort of body tilt there. If I was able to hold the club at the same time, so turning to the right is actually what's going to help me get that club sort of online. So for those of you that are coming over the top, can we see that you're turning the steering wheel left on the way down, which is this movement? And to do the reverse Matt Wolf, it's well, he's turning the steering wheel left on the way back, and then he's got a huge amount of turning right on the way down to even get it online. Now, this is not very conventional, but you can see that actually, even from a place where it's like this on the way back, he's still able to get that club shallowed, lined up, and can even hit it from the inside, even though he's gone that way. This is more about the knowledge and understanding of which parts of you control the club. Let's really see it's a wash of wrist, a wash of arm rotation and upper body shapes here that actually is what's getting the golf club to move to the right of my hands. In downswing, that's getting that club head behind my hands. And this is why it is so important that when using the steering wheel, on the way down, things I've turned to the right, they must stay turned right. And what you'll notice here is right arm, from your viewpoint now, staying inside of left. If I turn that left, my right arm is over the top of my left. That's going to dump all of those patterns. And it's also why at this point, guys, if you're really working on getting that club online, I need to give you permission to, one, not worry about the club face, and two, appreciate that in this scenario, when you turn it right, the club face is a little bit open, but it must open. The club face will actually open in these kind of patterns. Yes, you can take care of the club face a bit later, and we'll do another video on the club face side of things. But if people are, this is why I'm not a fan of people sort of trying to keep the club head outside the hands and quite closed. Well, to do that, you've turned the steering wheel left. That's going to make backswing quite tricky. And then if you're trying to close the club face that way and get it back outside your hands, well, all you're actually doing here is promoting this kind of over the top movement. So important. Actually, we can create so much more of this kind of pattern. Let's keep right inside the left on the way in, as you see with all top players forever. From face on, what you'll notice is that actually when that turns right, that right arm and elbow, from your viewpoint now, you'll see that a little bit more sort of underneath. If I go that way, this is now above, this is now steep, this is now over the top, and so on. So look, it's a huge topic. And in fact, there's 3 factors. One is wrist, one is arm rotation, one is body. So make sure when you're practicing, really try and do some slow motion feels in terms of practice. It's like, well, if I was going to try and go over the top, I can steepen my shoulder pitch. I've got a high right shoulder in that scenario. I can turn my arms to the left, chucking the club head over, and I can have my wrist. So a kind of triple whammy would be steep shoulder turn, high right shoulder, left arm rotation and wrist. As I said earlier on, I could actually hit that now so much from the outside that I would even hit that golf ball sort of that way and between my own legs, right? So that's how over the top we could potentially be. And then of course we're coming across the ball. Let's really see here. I've got a bit of wrist, a bit of arm, a bit of upper body and shoulder pitch there, which are all these things. That's why let's come back to this exercise. Hold that club up. Think about, how can I get the club to the right? How can I get my arms involved to help me? How's my upper body joining the party? So we've got a bit of right side bend. We've got right rotation in the arm and a bit of right rotation in the wrist. And from the top, even for demonstration purposes, I've got a little bit steep there. It's like, well, there's the arm and wrist. There's the body actually moving better. That now is that shape, actually. Right's underneath, things have turned right. Everything is so much more sort of online. So let's really look after what is the pitch of the shaft. Let's really look after the location of the club head relative to the grip, and how indeed we can kind of shallow this club properly, understanding the contributing factors of how that works. So guys, a big topic there, getting that club online. Play around with it, try and really sniff out, when you're doing it poorly, which part of you is doing the poor job and how indeed we can sort of learn to do it better. Take your time, feel a bit of hand, bit of arm, make sure the body's very complementary, because there's no doubt, look, if the club is online, we can just go, and we're making the delivery, we're making the impact just so much better. If it's offline, theoretically you should miss the ball, but you never miss the ball, you'll always find a way to manipulate a bit of a victory. Let's get it online, make impact a lot easier. So guys, thanks again for tuning in for another session. I look forward to filming another one for you and coming with you here next week. Please do the likey and subscribey bit, and also look, make sure you're following me across other socials. Have a look at Richard Ellis across social channels. We've got some more channels that are opening up all the time, and you'll certainly find some little short videos across sort of social media. We'll see some long stuff here, and if you want to get even more involved, be sure to check out my Skillest. There's a few online courses there that are even deeper, even more thorough than what you're seeing here, that will really help improve your golf. Right guys, see you next week.